All right, welcome back to another episode of Paladin Financial Talk. I'm your host, Nikki Foley, and I am joined by our co-host, the magnificent Tony Shore. Thumbs up over there.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony, we're in a new studio today, and you can really tell for what's behind you there. So how excited are you?
I'm really excited. We're waiting on just a couple of things, curtains for those windows right behind you. But these are the brand new podcasting studios that we built. And so we're very excited. This is the inaugural recording. This is the first time we're trying it out.
Yes.
So we're testing it out, giving it a test run here. I think it's great. They spent a lot of time and money on this podcast studio. So, and I think it's been worth it. I love it. All new equipment. It's great.
Well, I feel honored to be the inaugural run here. And so
yeah.
how exciting. And we have a guest with us for our inaugural run. So today, lending a real life perspective to what we've been talking about with real estate and business ownership and entrepreneur, I have my friend DeeDee here. And I'm not going to introduce her quite yet. I'm not going to let her talk for just a second because I need to brag on her before we get any farther here.
Well, sure.
So I met DeeDee 10 years ago, I think it was, and it was on the volleyball court. So I was much younger then, and I don't know if I was any better. I probably played about the same as I play now, but met her on the volleyball court, and she is amazing, like totally intimidating the first few times I played with her, and maybe all the way through, but she is just a force. She dominates offensively. She dominates, could shut any hitter down, male or female, just a rock star. And so what I have found as we have now been friends for 10 years, and we don't play as much volleyball as we used to, but we get to have conversations about other things in life. And what I found, the things that I respected and admired so much about her when she was on the volleyball court 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it might be, was, her leave nothing left to give, her all-out effort. I mean, she is somebody that just gets it done, but she was never arrogant, never flashly, just a rock star. And so what I have seen is that has shown up in other parts of life. And as we age and we talk about other things that are happening, same person, she just has applied that in different areas. And so I'm so excited that we get to share the things that she has been doing with her husband, Rob. And I think you'll find that everything she's going to share with us today are things that people have questions about as they're thinking about getting into business ownership or real estate specifically. And hopefully she can help us go through some of the things that might be pressing out there and people want to know. So warm welcome to DeeDee. We're so happy to have you here today.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks, Tony. So if I'm ever having a bad day, I know I can always just count on Nikki. So I just appreciate being the first guest here in the new studio too. So
Absolutely. Thanks. Well, it's so fun. And DeeDee, I have to say, so setting the tone here, I just bragged on her, which she is incredible. She is doing all of this on top of having a full-time job. And she just shared with us that she crossed the 30-year mark at the organization she works for. So corporate job, 2 girls that are now college and high school age, and then they run a full-time business and now businesses, I would say. And so we're going to take our guests through all of this. But before we go through and get into the business side of things, I think we need to talk about adventure. And that is DeeDee and her husband, Rob. They are so much fun. They're always doing something. I love the time that I get to spend with DeeDee because she has always something exciting to tell me. So last year they sailed for 10 days in the Caribbean. Like they hired a captain and a boat and away they went. They redid vans. The trend during COVID was to take an old van and redo it. They did that probably 5 years before it was cool. And so DeeDee, just tell us about your adventures. Give us something so our listeners know something about you and Rob.
All right. Well, you give me a lot of credit. It's just living life, I think. But yeah, we did the van life and we built out our first van. It was the greatest adventure for us. We named her Wilma, and it was Wilma Van Get Me There. And there was a time she didn't, but we learned a lot. We gutted her. We kind of just made it for us. And
custom van, are you talking like an RV?
It was a Ford, I believe, like a Ford 350 or something like that. A little taller roof. Couldn't stand in it at that point, and so we just gutted it. And it was just I think we had a cooler, or it used to be an RV, but it was kind of stinky, and we just did some stuff with it. So we made it a bed, and we had the sink and a propane so we could grill, and it was a good adventure.
Wow, a custom RV. You did it yourselves.
We did. We gutted it. And so Rob said never again. And so
It was a lot of work.
Yeah. We're looking for a fourth van now. So we've had a few more in between.
So when he said never again,
Yeah.
we did more though. Is that what I heard you say?
The second and third van were already done.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
We just got to live.
Yeah.
And enjoy an adventure in it. And so we're going to be empty nesters in a year and a half. And so we just want to be able to go. And so that's like been our really fun adventure. And then the BVI was amazing last year, a bucket list for Rob. But it was actually our friend that was a captain.
Okay.
And
that's
so
right.
it was just three adults, or three couples and a week. And it was not on my bucket list by any means, but it is now. So I can't wait to go back.
Incredible. That's absolutely amazing. And so they never sit still. Maybe as part of this, what we have learned about characteristics of this business owner and her husband. Okay, I have to know who came up with the name for the original van, or how did it come up?
That's a good question. I don't recall.
Okay.
But then our second van was Wilbur. Our third van currently is Sylvia, because Sylvia was the owner. So we got rid of the W's, but we tried to stick with the W's for, I don't know, but it was a great name.
Fun.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's so much fun to be, like I said, around DeeDee and hear her stories. And so just a little bit more background on DeeDee and her husband, Rob. They own Gray Duck Outdoor, which is a local outdoor company that specializes in paddleboards and canoes. And so this is what they do. This is how they live their lives. But really, DeeDee wanted to explore the entrepreneurial world. And so they said, let's do this. And Sosna, is that right? Did I
That's
do
correct.
okay? All
Good
right.
job.
Was their original company, and it was meaning pine tree in Polish. Did I
Correct.
get that right? Okay. And so they started with the paddleboard and that side of things, and now they have launched into real estate. So we're going to well, I'm not. DeeDee is going to take us through what some of this looks like. So let's just start. I'm going to ask you the format is questions, if that's okay. And you
Perfect.
can tell us all the answers that you have. So did you or Rob grow up in families that were entrepreneurs, or was this new for you?
Not me, but definitely Rob. It was through his grandpa. His grandpa used to work at JCPenney and actually met JCPenney himself. And if I get this right, he owned a couple apartments as well near the family cabin in Monticello, and then he owned a drive shaft company too. And so Rob got that spirit from him. And being the first grandchild in the family, there was a really special bond between them, and super special in so many different ways. And funny story, Rob's first gig was in middle school, where his grandpa said, if you want to start mowing lawns, I'll pay for half the mower just to kind of get you started. And so that was his first job.
It is fantastic to see that there is, and I don't think this is uncommon, that there is some type of role model in people's lives as they think about being an entrepreneur. But it doesn't mean there has to be either. And I think that's the message that we want to give to our listeners is, I think you'll find as we talk to DT, there's just a lot of different characteristics, but just do it. And I don't know if you have a summary for our listeners of, is it just do it or anything like that?
When I was preparing and kind of thinking about things to say, I think that was one of the key phrases is just do it. You just got to get out there, and you learn from so many different people. And so you're going to make mistakes, and we'll kind of go through that. But
that's fantastic. And so I do have to share, JCPenney's was my first job, you guys.
oh, that's fantastic.
Yep.
Really?
16. My aunt had worked there for 20 some years as a part-time job. And so she got me, or my best friend and I, jobs there. So it was my first job, and I worked there during the summers and then a few hours during school. Came back my freshman year of college and worked there. So a
love
little
that.
connection there. I needed to share that with you guys. Okay, so Gray Duck was first business that you guys had, or was there something before that? And then just set the stage. Like, when did you pull the trigger? Did you have kids? Did you both working full time? Kind of set the stage.
Awesome. Well, actually, it was Silver Creek Paddle and Company. We started that in 2010 when paddleboards people didn't even know what a paddleboard was. We were living in Clearwater, so that's just north of Monticello, on a lake with our girls. They were 6 and 3. Both Rob and I were working our corporate gigs. He was taking the train downtown. I was in rush hour 2.5 hours a day in traffic. And he kept talking about these $1 million ideas. And I was done. I was done with it. And so I was like, just do it. So there we go. Just do it. And that was the start of Silver Creek Paddle. We were, like I said, we were one of the first companies in the Twin Cities selling stand-up paddleboards. We didn't have a brick or mortar store. It was out of our garage. And he contacted a different company, and we brought in 8 of their paddleboards thinking, oh boy, that's a lot. And we sold them right away. We had demos. We worked at the Lake Home and Cabin show and the boat show. And then 8 paddleboards turned into 100. And then he really liked working with mom and pop shops. And we became a distributor as well for the mom and pop shops. And so I'm still in my corporate job, 30 years. Rob's no longer in the corporate world. He is full-time with Grey Duck Outdoor and is also an outdoor rep for outdoor gear and paddle sports.
That's really incredible. And I know that it takes a lot to make a decision like that when you have a mortgage and you have 2 kids and there's a lot on the line. Was there a point that he was doing both at the same time? And then how did he know to just be done?
It was a transition because the company that we brought in the paddleboards, they needed a sales director. And so he was able to transition that role and then ultimately we started Grey Duck then a little later.
Yeah. So incredible that you can, as you start having those ideas out there, it starts opening other doors in your eyes, to things that could be. And so just making that decision to take the first step, I think is good advice from what I heard you say there. We were talking, Jeff and I were on a call with a business coach friend earlier this week, and he stated to us that business owners or partners in a business should not share the same skill set. And he actually brought it back to parenting as well. He's like,
Yep.
it's
True.
right if you don't have the same skill set. And so what about you and Rob? Do you have similar skill sets, or are you very different?
I think we're very different. Grey Duck is Rob's deal. He's a great networker. I am not. I'm an introvert, and he has some amazing folks on his team. I always say that I'm the silent partner in Grey Duck, though I'm sometimes not so quiet. And then Sosta's my deal. That's what I wanted to start. I needed something for me, and so we chatted, and Sosta was my deal, and I say that I'm the silent partner, but really it's all these conversations throughout the day and evenings and weekends that we talk about all sides of the business.
Yeah. Do you find that you don't necessarily turn it off because it's such a big part of both your worlds and the adventure that you guys like to have? It just is natural.
It is. It just, even corporate gigs, you don't really turn them off either. And so it's always conversations.
Yeah. Do you think, and I'm taking us a little bit off script, that as your girls have heard these conversations, do you think that they'll follow in your footsteps with anything, or what are they looking at right now?
That's a good question. I think what I want them to do is know what hard work looks like and take that piece of it and then do whatever they want to do.
And right there is the answer of why she's so incredible. Like, that was just from the cuff, and thank you.
How old are your girls?
Bryn is 19 at St. Ben's, and Josie is a junior at St. Anthony.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, high school.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Do you find that having maintained your full-time career and corporate side of things, that you can borrow ideas and thoughts from that and apply it to the business, or there's just not enough overlap there?
I think there is. Like I said, and you said too, 30 years at my corporate gig. Sorry, I'm using gig a lot here. In that role, I talk to many people, and I really get to listen what's going on and try to empower and advocate for them. And so at one point, we had to talk about our brand at work, and mine is empathy, educate, and resolve. And so this role, my current role at work, fits my people-pleasing persona. But that's where this short-term rental started. When we think of short-term rental, when we think of renting a VRBO or an Airbnb, it's vacation mode and everybody is happy. And so I wanted to provide that happy space for somebody and provide a space for people to unwind and form amazing memories with their friends and family and on the North Shore. What could be better?
Why is the North Shore so important to you, or you and Rob?
Back when we first met, we would camp all the time. 9 months pregnant, I was camping on the ground. And our honeymoon was at Bluefin Bay. And so we spent so many weekend summers, and it was that talking throughout of, I really want to have a place up there. And it was like, well, we need to spend time up there. And so it was like, deal, let's do it. So
Who's the one that pulled the trigger that said, was it coming from your passion to have a separate company from Gray Duck, but yet kind of in the same realm? Or was it, where did the second, kind of that next step into entrepreneurship with the vacation rentals, where did that come from?
it was, I think, me. I wanted something for me.
Yeah.
And so Rob had his gig, and he's so good at that. And yeah, I have my corporate, but I also wanted that extra little push for myself to get out of comfort zone too.
That's good. That's good. And it is a come out of your comfort zone when you think about small business. And we're talking with our listeners are going to be ages of all ages. So listeners that are young entrepreneurs all the way up to individuals that have retired. But I think your story and your message is applicable to any of them, no matter where they're at. So maybe some are working full-time jobs, but they want to follow along their passions and have that side career. Or, retirement, sometimes you get into it and you're like, what am I going to do with myself?
Right.
And they are, maybe the vacation rental is something that's applicable to them. So I think your advice sticks no matter who we're talking about. So I'm going to get us into the kind of the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm going to ask you some more questions here. So tell us, what do you think has been the hardest part about starting either Gray Duck or the real estate side of things, and how did you push through those moments? Just give us kind of that side of things.
Yeah, definitely. So Rob and I are risk takers, and we were like, well, if something happens, bad happens, we can always sell. And so that's the hardest, the risks and the doubts. It's mostly the what ifs. For me, it was for Sosna, it was, can we afford it? Can't we afford it? What happens if we have some unexpected expenses? What happens if no one rents our places, or that awful guest? What are we going to do about that? When we first started, we had a property management company helping us just kind of like get the feel of, how does this actually work? We've stayed at places, but it was like, what's the nitty gritty? And so we stuck to that property management company. They were the ones talking to the guests. They were the managing the property. If we had a problem, they were the ones that were getting the people to fix the issue, which we think, great, this is hands off. They're doing the work. But at the end of the day, they were taking 40% off the top. And I actually thought I could do better. I didn't get to have that one-on-one relationship with the guests that were coming to my places. And it was like, I want to know what we're doing well, what we can improve on. Why are they coming to our homes? And so we talked to some of our friends who were doing the same thing or just kind of getting into it as well and sharing best practices. And so in 2021, we took back that management. And with that, we were learning. And then the second short-term rental we purchased that year as well. And that's just a couple miles away.
Did you, how many years was it that you stuck with the management company so that you learned their systems and their processes and had that foundation?
I think it was just a year.
Okay.
Just a little over a year. So
that's good. And I think those are key advice is if people are thinking about doing this.
Oh, definitely.
Great. Learn the ropes. And then when you're ready, what a tremendous boost in what was coming in with getting rid of that 40% that they were taking.
Exactly.
Plus removing that barrier between you and the client or the customers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the scary part, though, is they have their contacts of who to call. They have the cleaners. They have the companies that are going to come and fix, and you don't.
So how did that go? That's great. Tell us about that.
So I think it's just when we try to go there, once a month up to Grand Marais, and it's about learning the city, meeting new folks, being good stewards of the area, and just, I'm not the good networker, but you kind of have to get out of that zone and be like, hey, do you know anybody? And that's how we found some amazing people up there to help us out.
It really is connecting with your community. And that is, DeeDee says all the time she's an introvert. I'm like, I'm not sure that you are.
I don't think you know. I don't think introvert means what you think it means, DeeDee.
Oh, I want to be in my hole right now.
She's so good at connecting with people. And I think that one of the things I love about having a small business is that ability to connect with our community and how can we all help each other out. And so that played right into your people, you say people pleasing, I think is what you use, but it is that nurturing that you have in you to make those connections and help other people, and in turn, they help you as well.
Definitely.
So anything else that you want to share that's memorable from either your early years or like hiccups or roadblocks that you ran into and how you thought through it and got to the other side?
I think we're always learning, right? It's never just what we learned then, it's what we're still learning. And it's connecting with people. And I think it's the maintenance on everything of like, when do we need to go back in and do maintenance and get supplies? And so it's learning every day.
I find that if you have good communication along the way, a lot of times people are naturally forgiving.
Oh,
And
yes.
even if we aren't going to show up what we want to be perfect and we want all of our I's dotted, T's crossed, if we have tried our hardest and we are trying to do the right thing and we're communicating along the way, hiccups aren't such a hiccup when people can see that you're genuine in any of your efforts that you're making.
That is so true. We had a situation where we had a guest and something happened, and they were so gracious. They called me, we worked through it, and I was like, send me, if you had to go to the store for something, send me the receipt, or please go for dinner and on us. They're like, nope, this is our place. We're going to treat it like our home. And I'm like, everybody is amazing in that. Granted, there's not always that case, but it's that genuine of being transparent and having that communication across.
Yeah. People, I want to believe, are good people, and I think
I do
these
too.
are good examples of them showing up as that. How about talking about wins? So we talked about the bad. Let's
Yeah.
start with the bad in this one, put it behind us. And what are some of the greatest wins that you've had from the experiences in either Grey Duck or with
Yeah.
the rentals?
And I don't think they're bad. I think they're opportunities. And so the wins, I think it's the flexibility. I love the flexibility. I think it's the pride in seeing your hard work paying off, the gratitude from our guests. And my favorite thing is the comments and the reviews from our guests, either that they've written in the welcome book or they've put it on their reviews throughout the different platforms. But mostly it's the support from our friends and family and just kind of cheering us on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes back again to the people side of things, which is what you love and why you got into this. So it all connects. Speaking of connecting, going into the real estate side of things, this is layperson, not Minnesota person. So this is how my dots start to connect is you guys have the outdoor company. Grand Marais is outdoorsy. It's up north. Was this a strategic move, or was it one that it really was independent passions and that's how it came to be? And is there a chance that the two of these could merge together ever and you can benefit for both businesses?
Yeah, they're separate, definitely. Just because I think I've said it, Rob's is the Grey Duck. That's his passion. Mine is that I love that one-on-one, and the homes and the real estate is mine. Even though we are connecting, both of us, with both Grey Duck and Sosna, but right now, that's where I'm seeing a separate.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, real estate is for some people, and it sounds like for you and your husband, it's a great investment, right? I mean, it can be a good investment for the right people. And I know, to own land or real estate, that seems like a smart thing, but there's a lot of work and responsibility, as you've been saying, that goes along with it.
Exactly.
This is getting into the details of business setup, and if you don't want to go down this path too far, that's just fine. Did you, like setting up LLCs and separate corporations and things like that, was there any benefit to having these as separate corporations, or did you think about doing it under one or the other and just having it under a similar corporation? And any thoughts that our listeners you think could benefit from your thought process on that?
So I'm still new to all this. This is not my forte by any means. I think we just we wanted to keep them separate from a liability standpoint too, and being a woman owner, I think that was a positive thing. And so just doing the LLC for Sosna.
Yeah. Have you thought about doing any more with women ownership and being an advocate and a mentor for others, or promoting that side of things? And maybe now is not the right time. You guys seem to have your hands full, but any thoughts along that line?
That would get me way out of my comfort zone, but yeah, that would be great. But I need a little push on that one.
There's one thing that you had told me, and maybe this you've already answered it, and I didn't realize it. Not only did you, you were using the maintenance company, but were they also your reservation booking company, or was that, so they worked together, that was a single service?
Exactly.
Will you talk on that side of it, as how much you have to put into being the coordinator and getting people booked? Has that been overwhelming? Is that just a few hours a week? Like, give some perspective to that.
I think it's how you set it up. Granted, that's the short-term, long-term game of using that platform, setting up everything up front. And, I don't know if we want to talk about the different platforms and stuff like that, but it's using that platform. You can set up different messaging systems, the payment, your website, everything.
I'm going to stop you just to make sure. So is this like a template company that are for short-term rentals, and then it's like a template that you would rent or purchase from them, and then you get to personalize it to your...
Exactly.
Okay.
So do you use, when you're talking about platforms, I just want to ask, our listeners might be curious, and I was going to ask you this anyway, do you use VRBO or Airbnb?
Yeah. And definitely, let's get into that a little bit. So we use a platform called Lodgify.
Okay.
I think they're UK-based. And they communicate to the different other platforms. So what's great is we can connect our VRBO and Airbnb. So there's communication, and the calendars are synced. The pricing is synced. And so I was able to set up my website through Lodgify. It has its own website name. So you don't have to go to Lodgify to find it.
Sure.
But it's its own website, but they communicate through the different platforms.
So, but if somebody wanted to find, if somebody is used to using, let's say, Verbo or VRBO, and they go there, can they just do they have to go to your site to find your rental, or can they find it on those sites?
Great question. So they can find it on that site if they search Grand Marais, and then, you can always search a map in the different areas and stuff like that. So they're searchable within those Airbnb and VRBO as well.
I feel like that's the best of all worlds, is that you have lower expenses because you're willing to put in the people time, but you don't have to pay that out. But at the same time, the marketing and the branding can still be done through those organizations.
Definitely. And, there's pros and cons with all those platforms of expenses for the owner, expenses for the guests that are booking. And
Sure, the fees. Yeah.
Do you have additional marketing or branding that you do for for either company? Like, how much do you put into that, or have you not really had to, just through word of mouth? And just talk about that and what people should expect if they are new small businesses.
So I can talk from the Sosna side of it. It's a huge opportunity for me. That is something that I would love to kind of learn a little bit more on that marketing side, because right now it's just, if Airbnb or VRBO pushes it to the top, then they're going to find it. And then by staying at our place, they're going to go to our platform. So there's so many different opportunities. I'm not a pro, so that is something that I want to learn this year.
So you haven't actually done like any paid social media ads, like boosting an ad on Facebook or anything like that?
No, I created an Instagram, and I've got a couple pictures. That's about it.
Sure. So if our listeners wanted to find you out there, I guess the easiest way would be to go to your main. Is it like a Sosna website?
It actually is, and I hope we'll link to them as well. So our first one is hillsideharbor.com. That's right in Grand Marais, 2 blocks from the harbor.
Oh, wow.
And just a block from the Voyager Brewing, if anybody likes that.
Voyager's great, by the way.
And then the other one is Fall River Road, GM, so really long, and we'll link those too. But that is in the woods, so if you need to get away a little bit from the people, fallriverroadgm.com.
Oh, wow. Great.
I think it's, and I don't know if this was by design, but the fact that you have two different atmospheres for people is, I think, is a special offering that you can do that. So that was good. Okay, how about the trend where everybody wants to be in short-term rentals and all of that? What is, first of all, what is your opinion? Like, should people still be getting into this? Do you see any fears that they should know about? And kind of just tell us your perspective on this.
Yeah. So again, layman here, just learning the ropes a little bit, but it's becoming saturated, and I think cities and counties are becoming a lot more like stringent on the rules and regulations. But I think that's also a good thing, is when there are regulations and ordinances to follow, I think that's really good. And so that's what we did when we were looking at our first place, is what zoning does this place have? And that was a key thing, is the zoning. So our first place is in a resort commercial zone. That doesn't have to have a permit, like a conditional use permit. Whereas our Fall River Road, that's in a residential listing, and that's a conditional use. So knowing the zones, knowing the ordinances, knowing, are they cutting down different short-term rentals or not?
How do you stay up with what's going on in Grand Marais where you are here? Is that something you've had to be very diligent about, is going out and seeking information, or was it really more of an upfront research and now, I don't know, you get the whatever business community stuff, it just becomes a little...
Yeah, it's the community stuff, but it was upfront at first. Like when we were looking in different counties, I would call the counties and just kind of ask on the permitting side, is this house that we're looking at, does this fit within? And they were like, no. I'm like, okay, next.
I think that's such a good reminder for all of us. It's amazing what you can get done when you just pick up the phone.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And you can ask a question. That's probably corporate life. It's probably lots of lessons for our kids along the way. Just pick up the phone.
Actually talk to somebody in person.
Right?
Yeah, a good lesson for some of the younger ones. I have 3 20-somethings myself. And so, that is a good lesson.
Are you naturally an organized person, or where does that fit into business ownership here?
I think it depends on what it is and if I'm organized. So some can say, yes, I'm very organized, and then in different aspects of my life, I'm very disorganized. But this I'm pretty organized with.
How much time would you say it takes you outside of your corporate and kids? Like, how much time do you dedicate to it?
I probably should take more time with it, is just from the book's perspective. But like I said, I've got the messaging down when a guest, let's say a guest is coming today, actually, to one of our places. So 3 days prior, they get the check-in information. And then tomorrow they will get I hope everything went well for your first night stay. If you need anything, let us know. And then a check-in information. But the day of arrival, I like to do a personal email just to say, hey, everything's set up for you. Have a great time, safe travels, all that. So from a timing, let me get back to that question. I think it really depends as when I have time to do it. But for sure, when somebody's checking in, just to give that personal attention right away.
So the first 3 that you mentioned there, the communication, that's automated through the Logify system. Then you put it on your calendar to make sure you make the call.
Correct.
How do you get notified? Just email communication when somebody books
a place? Yeah. It comes through my phone, whether it's a notification of somebody booked your place, and I'm like, yes.
Do you aim for, when you look at, say, the calendar year, do you set aside, I know my family wants to be here this many weeks, and kind of, have you figured that out? Or is it just when it's not booked, you guys are more random?
I think at the beginning it was when it wasn't booked, let's do this and let's go up there. And now it's like, I want to be up there. And so Thanksgiving, we've spent a few Thanksgiving, and Grand Marais has a fun parade and fireworks show during Thanksgiving. And so we like to be there for that. Memorial Day, because everything is unthawing and we can garden and we can get our places ready. And then it's if friends and family want to come with us, let's do it. Let's book it.
That's fun. What a great place for you to be making memories,
Mm-hmm.
but doing it in a way that it's fulfilling a passion for you. You feel like it's energizing you because you have something that's yours and you're making money on it.
Right, exactly. It's the best of both worlds. We're providing that respite for others and for us too.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm going to do some rapid fire as we
Oh,
get to the end here. And if you're like, pass, you can, I don't know, isn't there a game that you're like, pass, not doing
Yeah.
it? So you can do that if you want to. All right, selecting an area, then narrowing it to that specific location within the area. How'd you go about doing that?
Are you saying like from the housing and stuff like that?
Yeah, so you probably knew I'm going to go north.
Yep.
And then you narrowed it to Grand Marais.
It was always Grand Marais.
Okay, always Grand Marais. Have you thought about any place outside of that if you were going to keep expanding?
Yes, but I think I know Grand Marais, and it's like it's comfortable. So it's that getting out of that comfort zone and finding other places. There's some amazing places everywhere, and so it's just finding that.
Especially along the North Shore,
my
that
gosh.
whole area.
Yeah.
Like-
Who doesn't like your question earlier, Nikki? I couldn't believe you asked her. So why the North Shore? And I'm like, everybody loves the
not?
North Shore. Yeah, I've never met anyone who didn't love it. That's my family's favorite place to go.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
And I think you answered something that's very good for our listeners is it was comfortable to start there. And now pushing yourself, now that you have yourself established, you have figured out some of the crazy that you didn't know. Now it's okay to start stepping outside of that. So that was a great response. Okay, using a real estate agent versus finding something on your own.
Yeah.
How did you guys go about it?
I'm always on Zillow, and I get emails every single day from a lot of different companies. But it was for our first one, we used a local realtor. He is from the area, and so it was great. Like, just kind of showed us the ropes and everything like that. So it's great using a realtor. They're the pros too.
That's good. Another small business small businesses supporting small businesses. First, the mortgage that you did on your first property, did you just do normal 30-year conventional, or is there advice to give? You don't have to tell me exactly how you guys
We
did it.
did 30. Yeah, we did 30.
And then did you do anything different for your second one?
No, we did 30 as that one as well. And so we were just able to talk with the mortgage broker and seeing what worked for us for our financials, and that worked.
Good. Was there any upfront initial investment that was really necessary for our listeners to know about, like new carpet, new paint, any of this? Like, and how much would you suggest to a listener?
So it was the down payment of the house, where we didn't have that. So we had to figure out and be creative that way of how can we put the down payment down. But then luckily, the two homes that we bought, they were furnished. And so we just got to do our touches on there. I think what was one of the fun things that we got to do is there's so many amazing local artists in the North Shore. And so we have amazing art, and it's usually one room has one artist, another room has a different artist. And so I think we probably put in about 10,000 to 15,000 of our own, of just making it our own.
That's great. Keys getting paid, declining renters.
Yeah.
I think you covered this one. That was all, let's put in a first year with a maintenance company, learn the ropes, and
Yeah.
then start doing it on your own. Okay. You answered about how to upkeep and like having somebody handy.
Yes.
You talked about that. You talked about cleaning. Oh, yeah. Well, do you guys go up and do cleaning, or do you have a company come in and do that?
We have two. We had two, and we have one right now. Amazing cleaner that cleans our homes, and she's fantastic. So we're lucky that we have that, because we are in town here in the cities, and so it's hard to go 4 miles, but 4 hours to do that. So we've got good people.
You have to have a good
You have
person.
to.
That's the key, isn't it? Yeah.
And what about personal property? Do you keep personal property there? Do you have one of those like little closets that lock? Like, what's the philosophy on that?
You know, it's mostly for supplies. We have an owner's room, but it's for all the extra supplies, all the extra sheets, the towels, whatever is needed. And we do a kind of an inventory twice a year to see what's needed. But from a personal property standpoint, no. We have it pretty stocked, though, from like a kitchen perspective of, I want people to go there and just bring their clothes and their food. And we've got everything else. So
I love it. Okay. This is more from the business side of things, and then I promise I'll wrap up here. What about estate planning and legal and all that. Did you engage an attorney in any of this as you've been starting your businesses, or have you used tools that are out there? How far did you go?
We need work on that. When the girls were younger, we did our living will and stuff like that. But with Grey Duck and Sosna, something that is on our to-do list.
Yeah, I think that's not uncommon. I know a lot of other business owners and small business owners, and you find that you get so busy working on your business and in your business that sometimes comes later. And so I think the message is move, take action, get something going, and then those details will follow. But knowing that it's on your radar is half the battle, I think. So you are not unlike others along the way. What about your girls and legacy and leaving? Was anything thought about of we will buy two so that one can go to each girl, or is that not even on radar either?
That's not even on the radar.
Perfect.
Because who knows if they want to do that? It's 4 hours away. They're 19 and 16, and they don't want to have to drive there right now.
That's right. Okay, I think it's time to come to a close. This has been amazing. Like the tangible information that you have given our listeners and just perspective and how you've thought through it has been really incredible, and you've given such good advice. So thank you for doing this. Tony, anything you can think of that you want to ask her and to wrap up?
No, I think that's great. I think we need to introduce her, though, to Mitch and his map company, because they would look great in both of your homes up there. His map of Superior, it's a relief map, and wood, it's beautiful. Our producer and editor of Paladin Financial Talk also has a map business, so it fits right into your outdoor business.
Let's connect.
Yeah,
I love that. Small businesses helping small businesses.
I'm just giving Mitch a plug, our editor and producer. But no, DeeDee, great. Nikki, huge get for the show. This was great to talk about.
And such good information in a real world practical application. I'm not perfect, but we're going to just get in there and dig in and do it. So
Make it happen.
Adventures. We started with DeeDee and Rob being adventurous. What's your next adventure, personal or professional?
Well, DeeDee 2025 is happening. Big year next year for me. And so it's really just saying yes to all things personally and professionally and whatever comes about.
I love that.
Wow,
I love
that's
that.
a great attitude. I like that.
All right, DeeDee, give us the best way to get in touch with you. You gave the websites, but give them again, and anything else that you want to share.
Perfect. So if you want to learn more about paddleboards, canoes, you want to go to Grey Duck Outdoor, and that is Grey Duck Outdoor with an E, gray with an E. And again, the houses in Grand Marais, in town, hillsideharbor.com. If you want the woods away from people, fallriverroadgm.com. And again, I think there will be links there as well. And just if I can just say thank you for the two of you for getting me out of the comfort zone. So we appreciate that.
I'd say you were pretty amazing here and just rich with information. And so I say that's a wrap. If you guys want to get in touch with Paladin Financial, you can find us at paladinfinancial.com. Also, you can reach us at 651-842-8406. And most importantly, or I don't know if it's most important, but in addition, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We'd love to have you follow along with everything we have going. Continue to listen on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Amazon. All right, Tony, you can wrap us up from there.
All right. Thank you, Nikki.